Famous people who passed away in 1809. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Thomas Hayward Jr. He was born in July 1746 and he died in March 1809. His age was 62 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American judge, politician, and the founding father of the United States, known for signing the Declaration of Independence, and he played a key role in the Revolution. Thomas Paine. He was born in February 1737 and he died in June 1809. His age was 72 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English-American radical thinker and political philosopher whose writings, like Common Sense, inspired American independence. He advocated for human rights and social justice across continents. Thomson J. Skinner. He was born in May 1752 and he died in January 1809. His age was 56 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an influential American politician who served as a United States representative from Massachusetts. He was actively involved in state politics and civic duties throughout his life. Audie Murphy. He was born in June 1752 and he died in April 1809. His age was 56 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American military officer who fought in the Revolutionary War, known for his bravery at the Battle of Stony Point. His legacy lives on in Tennessee. Josiah Hornblower. He was born in February 1729 and he died in January 1809. His age was 79 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a pioneering figure in American engineering and politics. As a leader in the early American iron industry, he played a significant role in industrial development. Josiah became an expert in both engines and mining operations. Meriwether Lewis. He was born in August 1774 and he died in October 1809. His age was 35 at the time of his death, and he took his own life. He was one of America's greatest explorers, co-leading the Lewis and Clark expedition, which charted the western territories of the United States. His contributions to exploration are legendary. Gabriel Manigault. He was born in March 1758 and he died in November 1809. His age was 51 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a prominent American architect known for his contributions to architectural landscape of Charleston, South Carolina. His designs reflected neoclassical elegance. John Moore. He was born in November 1761 and he died in January 1809. His age was 47 at the time of his death, and he was killed in action. He was a British military leader known for his distinguished service during the Napoleonic Wars. His tactical genius is often celebrated, particularly for his leadership at the Battle of Corunna. Richard Gough. He was born in October 1735 and he died in February 1809. His age was 73 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a British scholar and antiquarian, renowned for his extensive work in the study of British topology. His research helped document many historic sites across England. John Murray. He was born in 1730 and he died in February 1809. His age was 79 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was known as the last royal governor of Virginia, who played a critical role in early stages of American Revolution. His loyalist stance and efforts during the war shaped colonial governance. Hannah Cowley. She was born in March 1743, and she died in March 1809. Her age was 65 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was liver failure. She was an English playwright and poet, celebrated for her comedic plays that captured the social dynamics of 18th century Britain. Her works continue to be praised for their wit and feminism. Anna Seward. She was born in December 1742, and she died in March 1809. Her age was 66 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was an English poet known for her romantic and nature-inspired poetry. Her writings, often reflecting personal loss and national events, earned her admiration during the Romantic era. Charles Francis Greville. He was born in May 1749, and he died in April 1809. His age was 59 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a British art collector and antiquarian, famed for his patronage of arts and extensive collection of antiques. His influence extended to cultural preservation of classical art. Bell B. Porteous. He was born in May 1731, and he died in May 1809. His age was 78 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English bishop renowned for his strong advocacy against slavery and social injustice. His theological writings and leadership in the Anglican Church contributed significantly to the abolitionist movement. Daniel Lambert. He was born in March 1770, and he died in June 1809. His age was 39 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was heart failure. He gained fame as one of the heaviest men in history, celebrated for his size and strength. His unusual weight made him a cultural figure during his lifetime, inspiring both curiosity and compassion. Matthew Boulton. He was born in September 1728, and he died in August 1809. His age was 80 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was kidney stones. He was an influential British industrialist, instrumental in advancing the Industrial Revolution. As the founder of the Soho Manufactory, his innovations helped shape the future of manufacturing. James Elphinstone. He was born in December 1721, and he died in October 1809. His age was 87 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Scottish educator and philologist, known for his work on English language, particularly his efforts to standardize spelling. His writings contributed to the development of language teaching. William Cavendish Banting. He was born in April 1738, and he died in October 1809. His age was 71 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was a kidney stone operation complications. He served as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom on 2 occasions. His tenure was marked by significant political and social reforms in British governance. Paul Sandby. He was born in 1731, and he died in November 1809. His age was 78 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English map maker turned landscape painter in watercolors, who along with older brother Thomas became one of the founding members of the Royal Academy in 1768. Joseph Marie Vien. He was born in June 1716, and he died in March 1809. His age was 92 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a leading French painter, considered as one of the pioneers of neoclassicism. His classical approach to painting inspired a new era of French art, with an emphasis on ancient ideals and beauty. Jean Lannes. He was born in April 1769 and he died in May 1809. His age was 40 at the time of his death, and he died from battle wounds. He was one of Napoleon's most trusted marshals, known for his fearless leadership in the key battles of Napoleonic Wars. His military prowess earned him widespread admiration. Antoine Charles Louis de La Salle. He was born in May 1775 and he died in July 1809. His age was 34 at the time of his death, and he was killed in a battle. He was a famous French cavalry general during the Napoleonic Wars, renowned for his bravery. He was one of Napoleon's favorite cavalry commanders. Johann Augustus Eberhard. He was born in August 1739 and he died in January 1809. His age was 69 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a prominent German philosopher and one of the key critics of Immanuel Kant's philosophy. His works helped shape the discourse of Enlightenment-era philosophy. Caroline Kohler. She was born in 1739 and she died in March 1809. Her age was 70 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was one of the wealthiest Jewish women in 18th century Germany. A successful financier, she played a crucial role in banking and commerce. Bernard Shaw. He was born in August 1748 and he died in April 1809. His age was 60 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German music publisher who founded Schott Music, one of the oldest and most respected music publishing houses. His work greatly influenced the distribution of classical music. Johann Friedrich August Gottling. He was born in June 1753 and he died in September 1809. His age was 56 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German chemist known for his contributions to early modern chemistry. His research and teaching played a key role in advancing the field in Germany. Caroline Schelling. She was born in September 1763 and she died in September 1809. Her age was 46 at the time of her death, as the reason for her death was dysentery. She was a German intellectual and wife of philosopher Friedrich Schelling. She was an influential figure in the literary circles of German Romanticism. Jakob Heinrich Laspers. He was born in April 1769 and he died in November 1809. His age was 40 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German entomologist, especially interested in Lepidoptera. He was a Burgermeister in Berlin, and his collections are still in Museum of Naturkunde. Joseph Quinella. He was born in November 1746, and he died in July 1809. His age was 62 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was pleurisy. He was a French-Canadian composer and playwright, known for composing one of the first operas in Canada. His works contributed to early Canadian music and theatre. Joachim Daniel Preisler. He was born in November 1755, and he died in April 1809. His age was 53 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Danish theologian and writer whose works influenced religious thought in Denmark. He was a respected figure in Danish academic and theological circles. Nikolai Abraham Abildgaard. He was born in September 1743 and he died in June 1809. His age was 65 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Danish neoclassical painter whose historical and allegorical paintings were widely acclaimed. His work helped define the Danish art sense of his time. Otto Christopher von Munthe. He was born in January 1735 and he died in March 1809. His age was 73 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a prominent Norwegian nobleman and civil servant who played a significant role in shaping the legal and administrative system in Norway. Charlotte Elizabeth Honoré Holstein. She was born in February 1741 and she died in May 1809. Her age was 68 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a notable Danish courtier who served at Danish royal court. Her influence and connections made her a significant figure in Danish aristocracy. Lars Page. He was born in February 1771 and he died in July 1809. His age was 38 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Danish ferryman and privateer. He was the grandfather of painter Otto Bach, and he, after rescuing a crew, became an instant celebrity of his time in Denmark. Niels Carlsen. He was born in January 1734 and he died in May 1809. His age was 75 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Norwegian timber merchant, landowner, ship owner, and banker. He was one of the biggest ship owners in Norway of his time. Birgitta Winther. She was born in 1751 and she died in April 1809. Her age was 60 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a Danish stage actress and opera singer. She belonged to the elite members of the Royal Danish Theatre. She has been referred to as one of the three most notable female opera singers of the 18th century Denmark. Everett Anderson. He was born in February 1772 and he died in July 1809. His age was 37 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Norwegian-Danish sea captain who fought in the gunboat war against Great Britain and Sweden. Niels Stofflith Dar. He was born in February 1765 and he died in October 1809. His age was 44 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a high-ranking Norwegian military officer known for his dedication to strengthening Norway's defense. His strategic insights were highly valued by the military. Peter Westerstrom. He was born in 1779 and he died in 1809. His age was 30 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was execution. He was a Swedish mass murderer who gained notoriety for the Saxboll slaughter in Moss, Norway, during the Napoleonic Wars. Sveinung Svaneståga. He was born in 1772 and he died in 1809. His age was 37 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Norwegian folk artist, known for his intricate carvings and decorative works. His art remains an important part of Norwegian cultural heritage. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.